Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad to see. At least we are now back. 2025. It's a brand new year. We are ready to get things started. Make our millions this year, and then not necessarily retire, because obviously we plan on doing this for a while. But glad that you are all here, and let's just get this show on the road. So for those who are new, my name is Mitch Kaniaru. I'm a trader with Afriforex, and this is the daily analysis session. Now, during these sessions, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we'll be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, the Afriforex team is here in the back office. So if you have any questions or queries, feel free to ask those questions on the chat box. You will be able to get a response there, and I will also try and attempt to address all those questions at the end of this webinar. So as usual, we can get things on the road, at least we can get things started. So as usual, we'll start off with sharing my screen, which I hope is visible right now. Sorry, just a second. Yep, hope that is visible. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So this is our brand new watch list for this year, and these are the pairs that we're going to be looking at. So for today, we do have the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, as well as the Japanese yen on the buy side. Now on Friday, there was the non-farm payroll, which did bring in a lot of strength for the US dollar, which we'll have a look at. And we'll be looking to mix and match these three pairs with all these pairs on the sell side. So that's the Australian dollar, the British pound, the New Zealand dollar, the Swiss franc, as well as the euro. So we're going to jump straight into it, because as usual, we do not necessarily have any reviews or anything to really look at prior, since this is our first webinar of this year. So we'll just start off afresh. So we'll start off with the US dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, then do the same thing with the Canadian dollar before moving on to the yen. Then we will have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So in terms of fundamentals, let me just add this. Today, there's not necessarily going to be that much. As you can see today, it is a holiday in Japan. During the London session, which usually starts at 11, we only have some Swiss franc fundamentals that are going to be coming out. So if you're not in the Telegram channel, do make sure you do join us for that. I think there should be a link right there in the chat box or in the description. Now, you can see later on today, we do have some US dollar fundamentals, not necessarily that much, because you can see most news do end up coming out around 8 o'clock in the US, which is around 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. around here. So you can see here, we don't necessarily have that much. Most of the news is coming out later on. So today, there might be some activity, but not necessarily that much. We'll end up having to look at seeing what actually happened. But at least because the non-farm payroll did come out, we do end up expecting some movement on the charts. Then tomorrow, we will end up having a lot more, but we will end up addressing that tomorrow. So we'll start off, as I did mention, with the US dollar pairs. So remember, we did mention that we're going to mix and match the US dollar pairs with the pairs on the sell side. So we'll start off with the US dollar as well against the Australian dollar. So here, the Australian dollar against the US dollar, in this kind of pair, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Now, you can see due to the non-farm payroll, the market did end up coming down quite aggressive. If you do end up looking at the timing, that was around 4 o'clock, which is the US market open. So you can see after that, the US big boys really did bring this price down lower, showing us that strength that did come in on the dollar. So our bias today is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. We have identified 3 areas of interest where we would potentially look for these selling opportunities from. So we have the red support and resistance area right here at the top. So for those who are new, the red support and resistance area is basically our line in the sand. This is our aggressive area entry, meaning right now we are still going to be looking for selling opportunities. However, if let's say, for example, the price goes above this particular area, then this pair will fall off our watch list. However, if the price is still maintaining below this particular area, our bias is still going to be looking for sales, meaning we're expecting one of two things. The price can end up coming back within this first support and resistance area. We'll wait to see what kind of reaction ends up happening within that particular location. And remember the market opening time, 11, 4, and 5:30. So 5:30 being the New York Stock Exchange open. That's when you will end up finding the markets really moving quite a lot, or at least aggressively. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Either the price can pull back towards this area, or you could end up finding the price, rather than holding within this first location, it can still come all the way till the top right here. As long as the price is holding below, we will still be looking for selling opportunities, making sure to manage our trades within these areas that have been highlighted. But for right now, we can see as the price is attempting to break this area to the downside, but not yet gotten a confirmation. Remember, in order for a level to be broken, we need to get the price breaking and showing us confirmation that the price is actually holding below, meaning some sort of retest before we could end up seeing the price coming down. So right now, the fact that the price has come down, we are seeming as if we're attempting to hold within this area. We wait to see what ends up happening, because there is a possibility that the price, if it does end up holding below, we could see it actually continuing to go down from this location. However, right now, let's wait to see what happens. The price comes back in and holds above. Do not jump in on your selling opportunities just yet. The price possibly needs a better price to come back within one of these highlighted areas for us to look for those selling opportunities. So I hope that's clear, at least on what our game plan is. Right now, it seems that the pairs have really attempted to come down, especially with the US dollar strength, and we'll end up having a look at them on the other pairs as well. So moving on to the next US dollar pair, we do have the British pound against the US dollar. Can see a similar correlation that did end up happening on Friday. You can see 4 o'clock in the non-farm payroll. Price really did come down. This is the British pound against the US dollar. The fact that this is coming down, remember the British pound is the base currency here, meaning this means that the British pound is going down, and oppositely, the US dollar is going up. So right here, we can see that strength of the dollar that did come in. And we can see also during the Asian session, the price really did push this area to the downside. You can see there was a small hold. But today, buyers is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. Our advice is do not start jumping in on selling opportunities now. The statistics are 95% or 95% of traders lose is because most of the time you end up chasing the price. So you can see the market moves in lower lows and lower highs. Right now, we have just made a lower low. So let's wait to see if we can end up potentially getting some sort of pullback within this support and resistance area. See the price actually holding below this location before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. But remember, if the price breaks and holds above this first yellow support and resistance area, the price can still come all the way to this aggressive area where we have the red support and resistance area, and it will still be for a sell, especially if we do go up to the 1 hour time frame. Just to show you clearly, you can see where we have the red support and resistance area is actually the support and resistance area of the sellers that actually breach the downside. So there's still a possibility that this price can still come all the way, come and test this support and resistance area before we do actually see the price coming down. So that's the reason why for right now, do not start chasing the market looking for sell. Let's wait for a pullback to come in before we're able to jump onto those selling opportunities. But for now, we do need to be a bit patient on the British pound against the US dollar. Now, moving on to the next pair we do have, which is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Here, brand new entry on our watch list. And you can see the US dollar strength that did come in. You can see that same correlation that came in on all the US dollar pairs. So today, the bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. We still have our 3 areas that we will be watching out for. So aggressive sellers right there at the top. We have a conservative area right here in the middle. And you can see right now, we're within an area where they're biased. And remember, one thing we also point out in these webinars is if we are looking for sells, it's best to look for sells within an area where sellers have reacted from before. Something we say sell with sellers and buy with buyers. So this is an area where buyers have reacted from before. So jumping in on a sell within this area is something we do not condone right here. So one thing we wait for is one of 2 things. Either a breach this to the downside and we see the price actually holding below. If we do end up seeing that, and it also lines up with one of the market opening times, we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity there. But one thing also you need to realize is the market structure. Yes, we were coming down, but right now it seems we're bouncing between the 2 same levels. And most of you will realize that's actually a range. And if it's in a range, even the rules for the range states that we should be looking for selling opportunities at the top of the range. Possibly if we see the price holding below that area and it's lined up with one of the market opening times, we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity. But be aware, it is still going to be for a sell as long as the price is holding below this red support and resistance area. Only when the price breaks and holds above this red SNR will this pair no longer be on our watch list. But for now, we will still be able to still look for sells because price might still be able to come all the way to these main sellers before we're able to look for those selling opportunities to come in. So hope that is clear on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So as we move on to the next US dollar pair we do have. Here is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now remember, in this situation, the US dollar is the base currency, and that's the reason why we're looking for buys. You can see a similar situation at around 4 o'clock on Friday. You can see the price did manage to go all the way to the upside, and that was because of the US dollar strength that did come in. So today, on the US dollar against Swiss franc, our bias here is definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities. But if you realize, even though though I point out all these areas that we do have, or at least these 3 highlighted areas, you can realize right now price is so close within the seller's area, it is not a good place to look for your buying opportunity, especially if you compare how the buyer was coming up very strong. But right now, it does not necessarily look that strong, which means he might need a better price. So we could end up finding the price potentially even spiking within this particular area. See the price holding below above this location, we should be able to look for those buying opportunities. But be aware the price can still come down all the way to the main buyer's area, and we can still look for those buying opportunities. Only if the price breaks and holds below this area where it pushed up from will this pair fall off our watch list. But for now, the buyers is still going to be looking for buys. So one of 2 things can happen. We'll wait for the pullback to come in. But if the sellers do not necessarily feel like doing anything and we do find that the buyers end up getting some strength, the best place to look for that buy is waiting for a breach of this area to the upside, waiting for a pullback before looking for a buying opportunity. That's ideally what we would be looking at doing on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope the game plan is clear on USD against the Swiss franc as we move on to the last US dollar pair, which is the euro against the US dollar. Now, today, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Remember, in this situation, the US dollar is the counter currency, meaning we will be looking for sells in this pair at the same time buying the US dollar. So you can see that same correlation during the US session open, or at least the New York Stock Exchange open, or at least on Friday. We get the non-farm payroll coming in quite aggressively, showing us that strength of the dollar. So today, buyers is still going to be looking for those selling opportunities. But if you realize right now, we are so close within this buyer's area. If you realize this is where the price managed to push all the way down from Friday. And right now, yes, the price has come back, but we're still holding above that particular area. So right now, we're within an area where the buyers should definitely do not start jumping in on your selling opportunities just yet. For us, we'll be waiting to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in within the support and resistance area for us to look for those selling opportunities. Alternatively, if those sellers, the sellers do end up getting a bit of strength, and the buyers are not necessarily showing that much interest, we could end up still looking for our selling opportunities if we do end up getting the price breaching and holding below this particular area for us to look for those selling opportunities. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening here. But for right now, bias is definitely still going to be looking for sells. Let's wait to see if we find one of these US dollar pairs giving us a pullback. Have a look at the other pairs. If you see all of them giving you a pullback, then you know it's not yet time to look for those buying opportunities on the US dollar. Possibly waiting for the US session open, or one of the market opening times is when you could end up finding the big boys actually getting interested in the dollar. So hope that is clear on all the US dollar pairs. As you can see, we've mix and match the US dollar with all the pairs on the sell side, from the Australian dollar all the way to the euro. So right now, we're going to do the same thing with the Canadian dollar before we move on to the Japanese yen. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, similar situation. It seems that the Canadian dollar also did end up getting quite a bit of strength on Friday as well. Similar situation with the US dollar. As you can see, during the US market open around 4 o'clock, you can see the price did manage to really come down quite aggressive. That was some Canadian dollar strength. So today, the buyers is definitely going to be looking for these selling opportunities on this pair. We'll focus on these 3 areas that we have highlighted. Right now, as you can clearly see, we're within an area where they're buyers. So no jumping on selling opportunities just yet. But one thing to take note of is the market structure. So right now, we wait to see, since we are potentially within some sort of small range, we see the price coming back in and holding within this particular seller's area. Could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity, making sure to manage our trade within this buyer's area down here at the bottom. But be aware, if the price is able to break this area to the downside. So if we see these buyers are not able to really do anything, the sellers are able to come down quite aggressive, and we do end up getting a pullback coming in. Especially want to see a slow pullback coming in. If we do see evidence that the price is actually holding below or cannot reach this area to the upside, then we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity there. And take note of the market opening times. We know we usually sound like a broken record, but the market opening times is when the big boys will actually start jumping in on trades. And that's when you'll actually find the best opportunities. So remember the market opening times, 11, 4, and 5:30. So 11 is the London market open, 4 o'clock is the US market open, and 5:30 the New York Stock Exchange open. If you take note of those 3 times, the probability of your trades working out really to end up going up higher. So just watch out for that. But overall, that is the game plan of what we're looking at doing on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, moving on to the next Canadian dollar, we do have the British pound against the Canadian dollar. It seems also the British pound is showing quite a bit of weakness, especially when you look at the British pound against the US dollar. You can see today during the Asian session how much it's come down, and we can see the same thing with the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So it's definitely showing a lot of weakness on the British pound. But overall, our bias is definitely going to be looking for selling opportunities still. But right now, as the sellers have come down so aggressive, you do not want to just start jumping in on sales because the sellers are there right now. You need buyers to come in order for you to sell. If you think about it, if you want to sell, think about you owning a store. If you want to sell things, you need buyers to actually come in so that you can actually sell. So right now, if everybody is selling, that's why majority of people lose, because everyone is selling at the same time and there's no one to buy from. So we need some buyers to come in order for us to sell. So that's the reason why for this one, we need to be patient. And that's why we always say, wait for a pullback, wait for price to come back in within an area of interest, at least where sellers have reacted from before. If we do end up seeing the price holding within such an area, we should be able to look for selling opportunities. But be aware, we also want to make sure that these buyers are no longer going to actually give us issues. So remember, here, it's all about probability. No trader will tell you that this is going to work 100% of the time. We also work with what is most likely going to happen. And that's the reason why we also have two options, because it's something of, if the price goes up, we know we're going to do this. But if it comes down, we have a game plan for that. Always have a game plan for both situations. You don't necessarily only want to look for the pullback. So if the price does something else, you're stuck and you don't know what to do. So if you have a game plan of what's going to happen in both situations, when one thing happens, you're not surprised and you're ready because you already know what you're going to do. And that's the reason why we do end up pointing out such things. So we will wait to see what ends up happening on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, we do have the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. This kind of pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. You can see that strength of the Canadian dollar that did come in on Friday, similar with the non-farm payroll for the US dollar. So overall, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities on this kind of pair. So right now, we're within a very interesting area because remember, we also point out market probing, probes, and certain things like probes end up giving us some very nice entry criteria. So right now, you can see overall, the price had been coming down quite aggressive. We did get to a particular bias area where the buyers did end up reacting. Now, we did end up getting a pullback. So it seems that we had a support and resistance area when the price came back in this location. And you can see this level has continued to hold. Now, when the price attempted to break this area to the upside, this means that this level was actually not broken. Remember, that's why we always mention, if the price goes past the level, we want to get confirmation that the price is actually going to hold above or below a particular level. So in this situation right here, we can see as the price attempted to go up, when we came back down, we never got the price actually holding above. It actually just came straight to the downside. What that means is potentially this could be a probe, especially if we do end up looking at it on a higher time frame, possibly on the 1 hour time frame. It looks quite clearer where the price never actually broke that level. And you know, for most of the time when the markets do end up probing, what's most likely going to happen is going to end up getting a pullback towards that particular area before we do end up looking for a selling opportunity. So wait to see what ends up happening on the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. This one seems interesting, but be aware. Because remember, we always have to look at both situations. Yes, this is what we are hoping at least to end up happening. But if the price ends up coming back and holding above this particular area, and you see the price actually holding above, do not jump in on your selling opportunity just yet. It just means that that level has actually been broken. And chances are we could even be coming back all the way to the top before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So you do need to be patient and wait to see. But this one does seem quite interesting as we could end up finding a nice selling opportunity available for us. But there might also be something more conservative, because you can see there's also a small area right here where the buyers seem to be bouncing off from. So wait to see. There's also a possibility this price could just break this area to the downside, hold below, and continue coming down. But that one would be a lot, well, it does not necessarily give the best risk to reward, and that's the reason why I wouldn't necessarily suggest that one, but that's something that could end up happening. So we wait to see what ends up happening on this pair, but it does seem quite interesting. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, we have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Buyers here going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see the Canadian dollar strength that did come in on Friday, similar situation. You can see we do have these three areas that are of interest to us. So right now, You can see the price managed to go to the upside. We did get a pullback, and the price seems to be holding above this particular area. You can see the way the sellers are starting to come down. They do seem to be slowing down. However, we have not seen any aggressive buyers coming in just yet. So in this situation, we'll potentially find some buying opportunity here, but maybe we need to see some buyers coming in aggressive first. We see the sellers really struggling, then we might be able to look for a buying opportunity there. Don't just look for the first green candle and then you start buying within this particular area, not realizing that you're within an area where there's sellers. Always look for your buys within a buyer's area. But be aware if the price breaks this area to the downside and holds below, then we should be coming back all the way down to this area for us to look for our buying opportunities down here. So we see what ends up happening. The Canadian dollar pairs look a bit interesting, but remember also, there are pairs that do end up moving within specific times. So during the Asian session, we have the Japanese yen, the Australian dollar, as well as the New Zealand dollar. Because those economies are open, you'll find that those currencies move a lot. Similar situation with the European session or the London session. You'll find the Swiss franc, the British pound, and the euro moving a lot. And during the US session, you'll find the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar moving a lot more. So just because we do have it here during the London session, it might not necessarily move during the London session. You could find it moving during the US session. Have a look at even on Friday. Nothing happened during the Asian session where there was hardly any activity. During the London session, just a bit more activity, but not that much. But you can see as soon as the US session came in, you can see the size of the candles really did end up becoming much bigger. So just take note of that in terms of what currencies are most active at what time. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last Canadian dollar pair we do have. Here we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. In this currency pair, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Remember, the Canadian dollar is the counter currency. So we want to buy that. It means we need to sell this currency pair. So overall, we'll be focusing on these three areas. You can see right now we're within an area where the buyers and we're looking for sell. So no jumping on any selling opportunities just yet. We need one of two things to happen. We need to see whether or not these buyers are actually going to react or not. So one of two things can happen. If they do not react and the price is able to break this area to the downside, and we see the price actually holding below, we could find a very nice selling opportunity there. You can see how strong these buyers have been. And especially if you look at how they reacted the first time, and right now, there's not necessarily that much of a reaction, but you could end up finding that the market is actually waiting for the session to open. Remember, the London session opens at 11, but we also have the Frankfurt market opening at 10. So you could end up finding that's what it's waiting for some buyers to potentially come in, maybe coming back within this support and resistance area, and you find this pair within this particular area during the US session. And if we do see that, we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity available for us on the euro against the Canadian dollar. So hope that is clear, at least on what our game plan is on the Canadian dollar pairs. You can see we've mixed and matched the US dollar as well as the Canadian dollar with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the Japanese yen and do the exact same thing. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, on this currency pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. One thing to note about the Japanese yen, it is always the counter currency. I don't think you'll find any Japanese yen pair that actually comes first in terms of the pairs. So most of the time, since it's the counter, you will end up finding that's one thing to realize. Since we're looking for buys on the yen, it means that for all of these currency pairs, we're going to be looking for selling opportunities. Because if we want to buy the yen, it means we want this price to actually go down. So just what's one thing to take note of. But here on the Australian dollar against the yen, bias is definitely going to be looking for those selling opportunities. We have identified 3 areas of interest that we will be watching out for. So we have the aggressive sellers area all the way at the top. We have a support and resistance area right here in the middle where the price could pull back to. And right now, we seem as if we're attempting to break this area to the downside. It's not been fully confirmed. The reason for that is because right now we're getting a pullback. Let's see, if the price actually holds below this area, we could end up actually finding a selling opportunity available to us. But we've seen this many times where right now it's very obvious to many people that it is a sell, because look at how much it has been coming down. So if most people are jumping in on sells, you could easily find this market actually coming to the upside. So if you think about if you are looking for a sell right now, all those sellers, if you're looking for your sell, the safest place you'll be putting your stop loss is either here, or if you're really trying to hide your stop loss, you'd put it above this level, which is right here. And you find that's where now most people say the broker is finding, or at least looking for my stop loss But if everyone has their orders there, there are not enough sellers right here. It means we need to incite a few buyers. And that's when you'd possibly find the market actually coming to the upside, potentially stopping everyone out. And as soon as it breaks this level and everyone has been stopped out, all those people who are thinking of a sell right now at this point in time will be thinking that it's a buy. And remember, in order for us to sell, we need buyers. And that's the reason why you find a lot of new traders, or at least the statistics of 90% lose, is because people are chasing the market. They're not necessarily realizing that they're the ones funding the big boys. So for us, we do not want to be in that group. So in this situation, once everyone has been incited to look for buyers, we will still be looking for selling opportunities within here, especially if it lines up within one of the market opening times. We could find a very nice selling opportunity available for us. But for right now, wait to see what ends up happening. So if the price comes back in and holds above, then we will be waiting to see how the price approaches this area within one of the market opening times for us to look for those selling opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So I hope that's clear on AUD yen. But one thing also to take note of, since today is a Japanese yen holiday, or at least a Japan holiday, you might not necessarily find it being very, very active. But at the same time, the other big boys could try and drag it around. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening there. So here we have the British pound against the Japanese yen. And this pair, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. It seems that the Japanese yen is quite strong, but at the same time, the British pound has been showing quite a bit of weakness, especially if you do end up looking at the way the market from Friday did end up coming down. Similar situation during the US market open around 4 o'clock. But this price has really continued even coming down today during the Asian session. And if you do take note that this pair does end up giving quite a bit of pips already, just this move to the downside today has been around 200 pips, around 180 pips. So do take note of that. This one does end up giving a lot of pips in terms of available for us. So right now, as the price did come down, we're within a buyer's area. Remember, we do not want to jump in on our selling opportunities just yet. In fact, it seems a pullback is starting to come in, which is what we want to see. So as the price comes in, we'll wait to see how it approaches this particular first support and resistance area. We do end up seeing some sort of probe or price action signal within this area right here. We will be looking for a selling opportunity there. If not, be aware the price can still come back all the way till the red support and resistance area, and the sell will still be on. The only time when the sell will be off is if the price breaks and holds above this red support and resistance area. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the Japanese yen. As we move on to the next yen pair, here we have the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation here, bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas to potentially look for those sells. So aggressive sellers right there at the top. Right now, we seem as if we're attempting to break this area to the downside. You can see we're within some potential range right here. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. Not very convincing, especially when you see a level being broken. It's usually broken quite aggressively. So as you look at this example right here, when there's a level right here, when the market came down, it really came down and broke that level. There was no doubt about it. And later on, we did end up getting a pullback, coming back within that area, confirming that that level was broken before you did see the price coming down. But right now, if you do end up looking at what's happening here, would you really say that is a very strong seller who has broken? Most of the time, this is what we see on the charts, where most people now start thinking that that level has been broken. They start jumping in on sell, not realizing that they have been incited to start jumping in on selling opportunities, realizing that this is just a probe. So in such situations, that's when you easily find the price actually coming back all the way to the top within such an area before it being able to look for those selling opportunities. So wait to see what ends up happening. There's still a possibility. I'm not saying or ruling out that the price could fall below and still come down. It's just that it's not necessarily very convincing, especially with such a level. Because remember, if the price ends up coming, you can see that when the price came all the way back, came all the way down till this particular area. So even if you're waiting for a pullback towards this support and resistance area, you can be able to target that same low that the market got to. Now, if you're doing the same thing here, the price managed to come only till this particular area, meaning the sell that's available is only from here just till here, which I don't necessarily think would be that much pips and give you really some good risk to reward. So that's the reason why I don't necessarily look for such trades. We would rather want a deeper pullback because that gives us more risk to reward, at least more profit potential on the upside. So Wait to see what ends up happening, but ideally that is the game plan for the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. We'll wait at least tomorrow, we'll be here again. So we'll be able to review and see what actually ended up happening on that pair. So the next pair we do have is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. You can clearly see that the yens have been coming down, or at least showing us a lot of strength. So overall here, buyers is going to be still looking for selling opportunities, but be aware, you can see we're within an area where there are buyers. So one of two things could happen. Either the price actually comes back in and actually gives us a pullback, which is what we want, because at least if we are able to grab a selling opportunity within this area, we can be able to target all the way down within this location. But remember, if the price is able to break this area to the downside, remember, that's the reason why I keep on saying I want a strong breach. So if the price gives us a pullback, we should be able to look for selling opportunities. Make sure you manage your trade within that particular low. Could potentially go lower, but that is something you do need to make sure you manage your trade, at least within such areas. So right now, a pullback could potentially be coming in. We'll wait to see what ends up happening on the Swiss franc against the yen. But one thing to take note of is the Japanese yen pairs are correlated very well. So you'll find that if one thing is happening on one yen pair, there's a high probability it's happening on all of them. So do take note of that. So if you see an opportunity on one Japanese yen pair, you can be able to look at the others, see if you will be able to find an opportunity there as well. So moving on to the next and last currency pair we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. Now in this pair, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the euro is showing a lot of weakness, as well as the same time the yen showing a lot of strength. So even today during the Asian session, it seems that we are attempting to break the low that we did end up having on Friday. And it seems that the price has come down quite a bit aggressive. We wait to see what ends up happening here. But here will be quite interesting. Similar situation with the other pair. You could easily find that this ends up just being a probe. So if the price ends up coming back and holding above, then chances are we could be getting the price coming back within the support and resistance area for us to look for sales, especially if we see prices probing. Especially by that time, all these people who are looking for sales, most people will now start jumping in on buys, not realizing that they are buying, and that is the orders that we're actually going to end up taking to the downside. But be aware, right now, since the price has come down, let's wait to see. If the price actually falls below this area, it's not able to break that area to the upside, then chances are we could end up finding this price continuing to come down lower. But be aware of the next support in this area. As you can see, since we got till this low, there's a possibility it might just bounce off that location. So just take note of that. So I hope that is clear on the game plan of all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all these pairs on the buy side. So the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, as well as Japanese yen, with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices, the US 30 and the NAS 100. So that's the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, before we do end up having a look at gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NAS 100, the NASDAQ. So on this pair, based on this commodity, on this indices, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Now you can see the sellers really did come down quite aggressive. Similar situation. It seems that US dollar strength that did come in brought in a bit of weakness on the indices. But overall, we will still be looking for selling opportunities as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. You can see the price did end up coming down quite aggressive. We approached a buyer's area. We got the price giving us a pullback, showing us evidence that the price is actually holding below this area for us to potentially look for selling opportunities. But right now, you can see the area where we're at, or within an area where the buyers. So no jumping on selling opportunities just yet. We need either a pullback. We could potentially be in some sort of range. So we could end up finding the price coming back in, holding within this area for us to look for selling opportunities. You can see this illustration I keep on drawing with probes. You can see the reason why I do that is because it really works. You can even see within this particular location right here, where the price managed to go to the upside, never held above, it actually came back in. But you can see the evidence of the price pulled back, holding, showing us evidence of the price is holding below. And after that, the price managed to continue coming all the way down. So we'll wait to see what happens within this location, whether or not we can see something similar happening within that area right there. But remember, as I did point out, just because we're within a buyer's area, that doesn't mean these buyers might not actually give up the ball. And if you find the sellers really coming in quite strong, able to break that area to the downside, wait to see if we can get the price holding below for us to look for those selling opportunities on the NASDAQ, right? So wait to see what ends up happening here, but also be aware, this being the NAS 100, It's mainly active during the US session. Remember, it is a US index. It is dealing with the top 100 companies in the US. So that's when it's most likely going to be happening, or at least being more active. So hope that is clear, at least on that, as we also move on to the Dow Jones, the top 30 companies now. So before we delve to the top 100, here, top 30 companies, buyers is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. Now, in this pair, things are a bit interesting, especially based on how aggressive these markets really did move to the downside. We realize there's multiple levels right here on the Dow Jones. So overall, you can't even see, let's say I go up to the 1 hour time frame, can't see how aggressive those sellers really did come in during the non-farm payroll on Friday, really did come in quite aggressively. Looks as if we attempted to actually break this support and resistance area where we did end up getting the price pulling back to. Now, that's the reason why in this situation, we could end up expecting the price to actually pull back within this particular area for us to look for selling opportunities. But we're fully aware we have a major support and resistance area right here that was actually also broken and was never retested. So there's also a possibility that if we don't find the market reacting within this location, we could find it actually coming up a bit higher within this next area that we did have here for us to look for those selling opportunities. So it's not usually all the time where we have more than 3 levels, but it's such situations, especially when the markets really do move a lot, and it has multiple areas where the markets could end up reacting from, could end up getting some nice opportunities. Remember, we always say, sell with sellers, buy with buyers. And if we're looking for sells, you can clearly see there are some sellers here who managed to push the price down lower, sellers here who managed to push the price down lower, and there are also sellers right there who managed to push down. So there's a possibility the price can pull back to one of those levels, and you could find that the sellers are actually interested in that price, and that's when you could find the price actually reacting from that location. So be aware of the market opening times, at least this one being the Dow Jones. It's mainly active in the US session. So take note of 4 and 5:30. Have a take look at seeing where the price is actually at, whether or not it's within this first area or it's within the next support and resistance area for us to potentially look for those selling opportunities. So hope that's clear on the Dow Jones. As we move on to silver, we'll start off here with silver, the metals. So here, our bias is going to actually be looking for buying opportunities. Especially if we do end up going up to the 1 hour time frame, it should be a bit clearer. You can see the price has been coming to the upside. Now, one thing to take note of is this particular high that we have here. You can see as the price managed to break this area to the upside, this support and resistance area, we got a particular high, we got a pullback showing confirmation that this level actually broken. And you can see the price attempted to break this area to the upside. But if you realize, not once has that level actually been broken again. So if you can see this market, it at least held there. There's a small probe there. It tested there, and you can see the reaction. Another probe, because the market never actually broke and held above there. And you could also consider that this market has not really broken above this particular area. Could actually even still consider this whole thing a probe. However, overall, the bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, and that's the reason why these levels are still going to remain the same as where they are right now. So overall, just zoom out. Overall, the bias is definitely going to still be looking for buying opportunities on this. So we'll focus on these 3 areas. So aggressive buyers all the way down here. And one thing to take note of with the indices as well as gold and silver, we are purely technical, meaning it's no fundamentals that's really affecting this. That means if the price is able to break and hold above the red support and resistance area, or at least in this situation, it's able to break below this area, then we should be able to actually look for selling opportunities. So we have such a rule where if the price is above the red support and resistance area, we will be looking for buying opportunities. If the price breaks and holds below the red SNR, at that point in time, we will be looking for sales. So in this situation, price is still for buys. In this situation here, we'll wait to see what happens here. We're able to get the price breaking and holding, then we could potentially look for a buy, but I think one area to watch out for seems to be within this area. We've not really been able to break above that area. Even if we do end up seeing the price being able to go up higher, you never know whether or not these sellers could actually push down again, because the buyers do seem to be struggling due to the fact that they've not been able to break this area for quite a number of days. So wait to see what ends up happening here on silver. So last but not least, fan favorite, we do have gold. So on gold, here our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see that weakness of, that strength of the dollar that did end up coming in. So this was during the non-farm payroll on Friday. Seems to have affected gold quite a bit as well, but it seems like it took it to the upside, not necessarily the downside. So overall, buyers is going to be looking for buying opportunities on gold. We'll be focusing on these three areas. We have the aggressive area right there at the bottom. So as long as the price is holding above this red SNR, our buyers is going to be looking for buying opportunities. If the price breaks and holds below this red SNR, at that point in time, we will be looking for sells. But for now, we wait to see what ends up happening. If the price has gone to the outside, we are starting to get a pullback. Could potentially end up getting the price coming back in within this particular support and recent area. See some sort of probe or price action signal within one of the market opening times. Remember 11, 4, and 5:30. Then we could end up finding a very nice buying opportunity available for us. But remember, if the price does not give us a pullback, and we do end up seeing the buyers really coming in aggressive, don't start jumping in on your buying opportunities at the top there. Wait for a pullback to come in. See if the price is actually holding above that area for us to look for buying opportunities within that location. So I hope that is clear for all the currency pairs, including the indices, gold and silver. So I guess that is it from me and from us. I'm seeing Margaret Juguna is saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Glad to see you here and joining us. Let's hope this year ends up being a really good one and we can end up growing each and every day. I think that should be the goal. Try and learn each and every day from what you did yesterday. Try and improve that the next day. If you do that, I think even within 6 months to the year, you will be a very, very good profitable trader. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I'm not really seeing any more questions, which is okay. Remember, the London market open is at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, so which is in 10 minutes is the Frankfurt market open. So there will still be some activity happening there. So don't necessarily just wait till 11. Have a look at the market at 10, see what actually is going to happen, whether or not some big boys are actually going to start moving the market. And remember, do make sure you are on the Telegram channel, as we do end up having some Swiss franc fundamentals. You need to know whether or not the Swiss franc is actually still going to remain on the sell side, or might it move to the buy side. So if you do want to know that, do make sure you are in the Telegram channel and will inform you on that. And I'm seeing Robert Morioki is saying, thank you guys for the insight. I'm truly grateful. Karibu sana, Robert. I'm glad that you could join us here as well. Hope you guys could also join us tomorrow. Do make sure to like, subscribe if you've not. It really does end up helping us out. And I guess, yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. So once again, thanks again, everyone. Hope you have an amazing trading day. God bless and bye for now. Cheers, guys.